Okay, guys. So now that we went over a product-based business, in this part two, we're going to be going over a service-based business plan. All right. If you have not completed part one of this, go back and watch that, complete the worksheet, and then come back. Even if you know that you're only going to be doing location or service-based, you need to know everything, like I always say. Now, with that being said, let me go ahead and get started. Not okay. So we're going to be using the example of Holly's fruit business, where she goes around and she gives fruit to the homeless people, people who can't like afford fresh vegetables and fruit, children, etc. Right? So what does Holly need? All right, does she need a lease? Does she need to lease a building? Does she need to lease a kitchen? Does she need to rent the kitchen? Does she need to get a food truck? Does she need what does she need? How is she going to do this? Is she working out of a truck? Is she working out of a commercial kitchen? Or does she need an entire building for her operation? So you need to first identify that, right? Once you identify that, you need to figure out what the monthly rent is. So what is the monthly rent, or what is the monthly lease of that property? Okay. Even if you're doing a food truck, because I know like in some places you actually have to like pay a fee for the lot. So you also want to make sure that you have like storage and stuff for if you're going to do the food truck. If you're going to do the commercial kitchen, like where are you going to lease it at? Like how are you going to lease it? Like where are you going to do that at? If you're going to need a whole building that has a kitchen in it and stuff like that, also lease rent. How much is that? How much is the deposit? Because when it comes to like leases and renting and stuff like that, you have to put a deposit. So like for my building, it was basically I had to pay first month's last and security deposit. So it ended up costing me like $5,000. All right, so you gotta go like, you need to have that $5,000 so you can put that in, right? And then how much are the utilities going to cost? So an estimate on how much the utilities are going to cost. The way you can get that is you can kind of like call. You can either ask whoever the previous owner is, or whoever is renting or leasing it to. You can ask them to see like what their bills were looking like. You know what I'm saying? What their bills looking like, and see like if you can kind of go off kind of that, so you kind of know what it's going to cost. Now, if you can't do that, what you can do is you can kind of like just guess, because the first month is going to tell you. So you can just keep that to the side right now. So just what you would think it would be. So for me personally, and I knew my first building, like my electricity for each apartment was at least like $200. So I just always budget out $200. I'm happy as hell when it's under $200 a month. When electricity is under $200 a month, right? But I budgeted that out. So I'm like, okay, it's $200. Usually $200 a month per apartment. So I'm probably gonna have to pay $600 in power bills in this building. You get what I'm saying? So kind of guess and see like how much it is, or again, ask your landlord or whoever you're leasing or buying a building from, if you can see what their bills are, what kind of bills that they normally get. You know what I'm saying? That's how you do that. Now, secondly is inventory planning. How much does it cost to produce the products fresh weekly, and how much is your storage or refrigeration cost? So again, like if you're doing something that has to do with food or whatever you're selling out of your building, how much is the inventory cost? All right, so in this case, Holly is selling food. So how much is it going to cost her to get these fresh fruits and vegetables? Where is she going to get them from? So if she has a connect with a farmer, and he's saying, okay, I'm giving you 5 bags of oranges for $1, and she knows that she has to buy 30 bags, so she knows that's $30 a week that she has to pay that farmer just for the oranges, and then so on and so forth, right? So now you need to know like how much fruit that she's going to be starting with, and how much is going to cost her, and then how much is going to cost her to actually store that fruit. So what does she need to store that fruit? She needs a big commercial refrigerator. How much is the commercial refrigerator going to cost? How much is that equipment going to cost her? You get what I'm saying? So she needs to know that, right? Now, labor costs. Are you paying employees, or are you hiring part-time help? And don't forget that you need to have insurance, and you need to have payroll taxes. So is she going to be doing it by herself, or is she going to be hiring people to help her? How much is she going to be having to pay them hourly to help her? Is she going to be relying on volunteers and stuff like that? Like what exactly does that look like? So you need to understand like what exactly it looks like for your business, okay? Next is marketing and awareness. How will people find out about that? Now we're going to go into number 4, which is marketing and awareness. How will people find out about your program or your location? What kind of branding or media will you use? Now, in the previous video when I was talking about products, I gave you guys a platform marketing tree. I want you guys to apply that marketing tree to this. So you would just use the same thing as I said about the 3 platforms and stuff like that, because we're going to be using social media. Alright, that platform is also down below for you to print out, okay? I mean, that platform guide is also down below for you to print out, okay? So, the same thing. If you want to implement any other things, like as far as like flyers and stuff like that, that's up to your discretion, but basically plan out how you're going to market this business, alright? Next, we're going to be talking about operations and materials. Number 5, that's the next thing you need to have in your business plan. What tools, machines, containers, uniforms, licenses, permits will you need, and what's your backup equipment if it fails, okay? So if you need whatever tools that she needs to clean the fruit, to store the fruit and stuff like that, how much is that going to cost? This is kind of different from like getting the actual inventory. So all the stuff that she needs, what containers is she going to put everything in? Do her staff, if she has staff, do they need uniforms? How much is that going to cost? What licenses and stuff is she going to have to get from the city and stuff like that to run her nonprofit or her brick and mortar business, and how much is that going to cost? So she wants to make sure she has all that. And then you also want to buy 2 of everything. So if you need 2 machines, if you need 1 machine to clean the fruit, you need to make sure you have 2. If you need a certain amount of containers, you want to buy double that, because just in case you have to, some are like come already broken or some break in the assembly line or whatever, you want to make sure that you have more than enough. So my rule of thumb is always buy 2 of everything. All right, so next, number 6, the last thing she needs is a revenue plan. How is she going to get money? Is she going to rely on donations? Is she going to rely on subscriptions? Or is she actually going to sell anything? And how much will you pay yourself, and how often will you pay yourself? So you also need to have that, your revenue plan. Again, the video about the numbers is going to be I'm going to put that in the description below. You want to go back to that video, you want to watch that video, and that's going to also help you with doing this part as well. Watch the video on the numbers. All right, now with that being said, whether your foundation is going to start off small or go big, you have to know your foundation. Before spending a dime, you need to know where every single dollar will go, especially when you're going to ask for funding. And I'm telling you right now, if you're doing a nonprofit or like some type of big service-based business, you're going to need funding for it. All right, so you want to make sure that you know where that funding is going. But with that being said, that is the video on your business plan. So go ahead and make your business plan. Make sure you do the worksheets out below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.